Well, it's the first thing in the morning. You fix yourself a steaming mug of coffee, and you step outside just as the sun is coming up. What do you see? Everything looks fresh and new, sparkling with dewdrops. What do you smell? Fresh air, alive with the promise of a new day. What do you hear? The stirring of the earth as it comes back to life, the birds chirping as they greet the new morning. This is some of God's best work. You'll also notice as you look around that it's not a whole new place, and you're not a whole new person. You're still you. Your yard is still the same yard. It's everything that's familiar to you, but it has somehow been made newer and cleaner again. God is in the business of creation and invention and inspiration, but God is also in the business of recreation, reinvention, and revitalization. The renewal process that God performs for the earth each morning also takes place within our hearts and spirits, within our homes and families, and even in our church. Now, I'd like to start out with a very brief grammar lesson. Do you remember your English class in school? I hope it was your favorite. You should have learned that re, R-E, is a prefix. It comes to us from Latin through Middle English, and it's added to the beginning of a word to mean either back or again. For example, the word reverse means to turn back. React means to act back toward the other person. For our purposes today, though, the prefix re means again. To renew means to make new again. It carries the meaning of something that happens more than once, a process that keeps on happening over and over again. The Bible is full of stories of creation as well as recreation. Genesis tells of the beginning of life through the story of Adam and Eve. God's original act of creation was repeated when Adam and Eve had children, when they reproduced. Later, God sent a flood and selected Noah to repopulate the land. God formed a strong relationship with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but succeeding generations drifted away. The covenants between God and the people of Israel had to be renewed constantly. For those of us in the Heartbeats who have been reading through the Bible, it's a little distressing to realize how many times they just kind of forgot what the whole thing was all about and had to be reminded. The temple was originally built by Solomon, but it was destroyed and it had to be rebuilt when the people returned from Babylon. In the New Testament, we learn all about Jesus, how he came and he taught a small group of disciples, but that's not where the work ended. It has been continued and repeated throughout the generations. And the good news gospel is always alive and new. So you see, there is a good biblical basis for the notion that God recreates and improves upon things. We live in a time where words starting with R-E, have become popular again. In these tough economic times, we're learning once again to be thrifty and careful with our resources. We've learned about recycling, taking things that we might otherwise throw away and using them again. How many in here recycle? Good for you. That's a good thing to do. There's repurposing, where you take an item and find a new use for it. And there's refinishing and redecorating, making our homes look newer and fresher while using some of our old things too. We've learned that new is not necessarily better, right? There's an old song that gives us some great advice. Don't throw the past away. You might need it some rainy day. Dreams can come true again when everything old is new again. In the workplace, we've learned about retraining, re-equipping, and reorganizing so that the same workers can perform even better than they did before. Of course, some of those workers are overworked, but we won't worry about that right now. In our churches, we make room for God to revitalize our ministries, keeping the best of our traditions and also mixing in new elements. Think of church music, which is being constantly reinvented. Each generation brings a flavor of their favorite music into the church. Styles of worship need to be reinvigorated, and the activities of the church can be reevaluated and revised to make them fit the needs of the community. We can't guarantee that everybody will be happy with every change, but we can make sure to keep some elements that please each person. It's a delicate operation to blend our worship styles, but with God's help, we can do that successfully. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, and that's what I think too many people do. Too many people throw away all of the old things, and they start over, forgetting the work that has already been done, forgetting to give credit to those who already solved the problems and already came up with the answers a long time ago. I really believe we're trying not to do that, but sometimes we do. At the agency where I work, there's a woman who writes all of the policies and procedures. And what the rumor is that the administration of our agency likes to reinvent the wheel, only this time they make it square. and my friend Shelley's job is to write a policy to explain how to make a square wheel roll. Here at Trinity, we are in the midst of a revitalization that has brought new life, new energy, and new beauty. And we're finding that there are amazing things that can be done, amazing new things, with an old wheel. So that's the approach we're trying to take. Beautiful things can happen when we mix together the old and the new. Today, we have an old sanctuary, and we're appreciating a brand new sound system. We've made an effort to blend the new system with the old, to make the two work together. Young people can learn from those who are older, and the older folks may learn a new trick or two from the younger people. We can value each person for what she or he contributes. It's time for new growth, new life springing from old roots. Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. Old things are rediscovered and revamped. Ideas can be recycled. Outdated clothing styles may come back into fashion. There's an ultimate story of renewal, too. In our Bible, the whole Bible ends with the story of the destruction of life as we know it, as well as the recreation of all things. John's revelation vision of end times can be disturbing, especially if you get caught up and stop in the middle before you reach the end of the story. The image can be frightening, and the idea of the world being desolated and decimated are very frightening. But don't forget to read the end. Jesus does win. In case any of you haven't read the end of the book, Jesus wins at the end. Hope I didn't spoil it for you. Our New Testament reading today shows that sadness will turn into smiles, smiles of delight, tears will dry up, and there will be no more pain, disease, or death. We'll have a beautiful place to live, a heaven on earth lit by the light of the presence of God. The walls of the city will be a rainbow of jewels, and the streets will be paved with pure gold. The water of life will flow in a river, and all of our needs will be met. No more hunger or thirst, no more worries, eternity spent with God. Our loved ones will be there. God will be in complete control. Sin and evil will no longer exist. It's a beautiful hope that we can count on no matter what we're going through in our lives. So think about what's happening at our church. Our Old Testament reading talks about being renewed, that those who trust in the Lord will have their strength renewed. They'll mount up like eagles. They'll be able to run and not get tired. I think about this church. I think about who's doing the bulk of the work. Look around. Come here on a weekday. Look and see who's doing this. It's pretty amazing. Ray Dietz is visiting our friends at home. Now, I hope I won't insult Ray by mentioning he's not exactly in the springtime of his life anymore. Ruth Casto is very able at filling in our church office, along with Laura Jaruzelski. Henry Jaruzelski and Bob French are here often working on the computer system and keeping it running. Our church council is made up of many of our elders, as well as some younger people. Al Coburn has been working on some of our plumbing in the building for us. So as you think about that, think about the people who are involved with TNC, people who dedicate a day each week to come in and sort through the clothing and to bring the food here. Bonnie and Dick Orosky go and pick up our food for us. And it's kind of amazing when you think about it. Now, there are days when I become exhausted. I'm tired. I can't seem to get everything done. Maybe there's some laundry that needs done, and I'm just too whipped to go downstairs and throw it in. I don't know. But often I'll be at that point, and I'll think, but these people are significantly older than I am, and they seem to have more energy than I do. So where does that energy come from? How are these people becoming energized and re-energized and continuing to perform these tasks over and over again? And the answer is they trust in the Lord. They trust in God. The verse in Isaiah comes to life. Now, I don't know how many of you have taken the time to read chapter 40 of Isaiah, but I have to tell you that if you know Handel's Messiah, it's very hard just to read it and not sing it, because a number of the songs from the Messiah come from that chapter. So I do want to point that out to you, that you should take time this week and read the whole 40th chapter of Isaiah. It doesn't take a long time, but it's really a beautiful passage. So next time you recycle an empty bottle, next time you put a can in your recycle bin or a jar, the next time you pull out an old necktie or a piece of jewelry you haven't worn for years and decide to wear it again, the next time you decide to spice up your living room with some new bright throw pillows on the sofa, and the next time you greet a change with a smile, remember that you are doing God's work too, the work of recreation, renewing, refreshing. So be renewed, be refreshed, be clean and shiny and new in God's eyes. Amen.